There was no restriction on that. And I found that workplaces that had those pins that said they supported the charity had much higher donations than the workplaces that randomly were not provided with those. And the effects were isolated among workplaces that kind of had middling levels of donation. So you didn't need them when everybody was giving, like when everybody knew that everybody gave, this message wasn't helpful. At workplaces where like less than 4% of people were giving, like very few people gave, they didn't really help because there just wasn't that much enthusiasm. The workplaces where 4% to 40% of people were donating is where all of the effect came from. That was a place where I see the pin, I learn that my colleagues are interested in supporting the charity. I'm more likely to support, or I give a little bit more. So that's the phenomenon that I studied. But then in subsequent, in the same academic paper, but in subsequent experiments, I showed that you get the same thing, the same mechanism, the same effect on behavior with just an anonymous message that people in a laboratory can send to each other. In the game I made, you could just send a message that somebody got on their screen that said, "I support this charity." So all it's telling you is like somebody else in this room sent a message to you. You don't know who they are. It's just they had the option to send this and they did. And that to me is much more like in social media, you often know the person and maybe you kind of respect them or follow them, or maybe they're a influencer or a celebrity. But even an anonymous stranger that says they support the charity induces you to give more. And that to me says, look, this is a very, kind of widespread phenomenon that could be triggered by any kind of message. And so the more communicating we're doing about this kind of stuff, so back to your question, right? The more I'm seeing my friends, post on social media with like, oh, I'm really excited about, applying to Penn, or, whatever the thing ends up being. Right. I'm really excited to go to this fancy restaurant, or I'm really excited to stand on this line to get this product, or I'm really excited to, about my Labubu that I'm hanging on my backpack, the fad product of the summer, right? All of those things, like I would not ever, if I just walked around in the world, I wouldn't be exposed to so many people telling me all of the things that they want and value. And now I'm just bombarded with it. And so, of course, it's going to make me kind of, or I shouldn't say, of course, I would say my research would suggest it's going to make me say, I want that thing. And that's going to make competition for those scarce resources even stronger.
Uh-huh.